Hey guys, Ganada Tactics. Wanted to do a quick video to kind of give you guys some insight into how to better set up the Delta-Zfr. So really the two most difficult things are making sure you guys dial in the guide screws, breaking those three, using some of the Young Cure, re-thread locking those and getting those adjusted. And then when you're ready for the rail fitment, let me give you kind of some step-by-step on how I approach that and to help you guys at home. So want to kind of show you here, this is how you want it set up when it's all ready to go. You see everything flows very easily. And let me just kind of, I've already done this before, setting up the top and bottom rails. So what I wanted to do was take a new pair and kind of dial those in for you guys and show you the steps to do that. But real quick, I want to show you what I think is a good idea for how these should fit. So let's just do this real quick. Get off our trigger shear here. All right. And you see, one nice thing is, it really just depends on what your fitment is here. Of the different frames that we've tested, some of the frames have been a little tighter, some of them have been a little bit looser, some of the more custom anodized ones might be a tighter fit. So really it's just going to depend. Getting the rail fitment just right, you do it once and you're pretty much done with it. But you can see this one's, I've sanded this one just to be just perfect. It's really nice. You can rotate it about the dowel pin. Drop this out. Put this aside, we won't need this right now. Kind of what we've noticed as well is the ideal guide screw height and the bottom rail. Usually there's this little tiny gap there. I'm not sure if you guys can kind of see that on camera, but there's just enough gap to kind of get a pick under this. And these dental picks really come into play and are very helpful because not only that, you can use the dental pick to come right down to the V-groove and press those down. You'll see I have a little bit of gun oil on here as well. That, never hurts. But, for example, this is a nice top rail, right? You'll see just a little bit of resistance, but it's perfectly centered. This bottom rail, sometimes you may find that it gets tighter towards the bottom of the frame. We've kind of found some of those as well. So you'll see this one probably just dropping in. I can easily push this one down. Like I said before, this is one that I've previously done. The other way that we really like to check it too is it's an easier way to install it. Just come through the front section here, right? That's gonna let you know if you either have resistance, you need to sand some more. And so basically you would just use your pick, press down through the middle, right over top. And you see I'm pretty much right exactly where I was before. So again, I've previously done this one. This is the one of the ones that I've been testing with. So we'll put these aside and I'm gonna kind of show you guys what you would do if you just got your package. So you got your Delta-Zfr box, open this up. You see we have our top and bottom rail, it's a brand new trigger plate, both of our two springs. What you want to do is on the bottom side of this package, we've included a small piece of 1000 grit sandpaper. Of course, you could go more aggressive depending on what the fitment is and how much you need to sand off. But really that 1000 grit is just, for you to take your time to do it slowly and get the fitment just right. So you'll see you'll have a piece of sandpaper there on the bottom. We can go ahead and put this back. And actually, let's go through and do these rails. So we'll take these out. These are my good ones here that I've already done. So let's just kind of see what we're working with. So you'll see this fitment here is pretty good from the top side. But actually coming down in here, I'm starting to get a little bit of resistance, okay? So I could keep forcing that down there, but then it's just going to be difficult to get out. Not saying that you're necessarily going to need to get it out. Let's try it from here. So you'll see I'm already getting resistance there. So it's definitely tighter on the bottom side. I also like to kind of try from both sides. So yeah, definitely more resistance there. So we're going to start working on this one and sanding this one, and we'll start with that. And one important thing that you're going to need before you start this, it's the most important part about doing sanding the side profiles of these rails is to start with the flat surface. And just kind of a little FYI, one of the reasons that we made these out of stainless steel was a few reasons. One, so that our brass rollers had a harder surface to wear into. Number two, so that as we were noticing the different tolerances within the frames, that you had a surface to where you could actually, a sandable surface, right? So that's one of the other reasons that we went with this 304 stainless steel. Another big reason too is we had looked at potentially anodizing these, but trying to rack these parts and ending up in the bottom of anodizing tanks, it would have been a nightmare. So what you're gonna wanna do is you're gonna wanna start with a flat surface. I'm actually just gonna use this custom bearing block that we've been using. Thanks to Doug Russo. We really appreciate his help with that. So start with the flat surface, and we're gonna start first with this bottom rail here. And what I like to do is just make sure you apply even pressure so that you're hitting the surface completely flat, and just take swipes back and forth. Couple ways to do this. Slow is fast in this point, right? I mean, it depends on the fit, but really we want to get the perfect fit. So, the right way to do this is to sand this, test it, sand it, test it, and then you'll be able to get right where you need to go. But sometimes you can do this by matching the number of swipes on each side. Sometimes you can just do it by feel. Just make sure you have firm pressure. And just kind of take these full passes here. And like I said, if you had something that needed to be a little bit more aggressive, you could use a little bit more aggressive piece of sandpaper. So what we'll do is we'll just do a little bit of sanding here. Kind of clean off the residue. And we'll come in and we'll kind of do another test fit. And remember, it was getting kind of tight down here at this bottom side. So you'll see we're already getting a little bit better there. But again, I could force this in there, but it's just going to be more difficult to get it out with a pick. So let's just keep working this one. Clean this off. Let's come back in here and try this again, see what kind of fit. So it's not bad, it's very close to getting there. I think that with a little bit of gun oil, it would be just perfect, but I'm just gonna go ahead and just do a little bit more on this one. And that way it's going to be a very snug fit, easy in and easy out. That gun oil is holding this thing a little bit difficult. So make sure you fully clean that off. And actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of gun oil here that I had previously on this Q-tip, and I'm just going to kind of brush the sides here. And I would imagine that this is going to get us much closer to where we want. Yep, exactly. So let's actually go all the way down and see. So now the trick is you just want to get this seated over the 2 guide screws, and I know I'm a little bit further back, so I'm just going to reapproach this here. Usually what I'll do as well is I'll hold my finger right here, because this little lip comes flush with the edge here, and that's usually about the spacing to where it's guided or it's aligned with the front guide screw. Yep, I think that's it right there. So again, see that look right there? You're looking for that tiny little gap. I found that, generally speaking, that's very close to where it needs to be. So what we can do now, when I do this here, I usually like to have the grips off, and I'll pull the linkage back. That'll easily allow you to set it in. Kind of, you guys see how that works? You could do it this way, but see, yeah, that'll work as well. But usually I just like to pull the linkage back and just drop that down in there. Now, again, let's try this. So here's our top rail, and you can see it's a little tight there. We're gonna drop this out just for the time being. So again, this kind of pivots on this, holds on this back. See, it's very tight there. So there's no reason for me to force that. I need to go ahead and do a little bit of sanding on this one. So let's come back to our flat surface, get a good grasp on it, make sure we're on the side profile. And I would grab this from this side, that way your finger's not over the cut through there. Like I said, just take your time. There's no rush. I know you guys, you'll be excited to get this in there, but it's kind of a time-old tale with any of this stuff. If it doesn't feel right, it's not right, and there's no reason to force anything. Just take your time. You'll get the rail fitment just right, and you'll never have to do it again. It'll be perfectly fitted to your gun. And especially these being stainless steel and a higher grit sandpaper, it'll take you some time to do it just right. I know some people have used, like I said, some more aggressive paper. It just kind of depends on what your fit is. We'll clean this off just so we don't have any kind of residue. And we'll just do a little dry fit here. See, it's still, like I said, I could easily push that down, but let's keep going with it. So what we'll do this time, that should be closer. Let's just take a little bit of this soaked Q-tip with some gun oil. We'll just take a little bit of that. Right? So that's a pretty tight fit there. Go ahead and just remove this. Like I said, these picks really, if you're going to be kind of going back in here, that's really easy to do. Like I said, I pull the linkage back, hook it here, right? And basically, you're good to go. Now, when you get this fitment in here and you're trying to get your guide screws just right before you go ahead and, you know, put this on your gun, you want this close to flush up here. That'll give you a good idea of how the rails are sitting top and bottom of the trigger before you put it into the gun. So let's just see kind of how this feels. So we could definitely adjust these particular rails up. You'll see we have got a little bit of play there. I'm not gonna do that right now because I've got mine perfectly set up with my other rails. But basically you would just, I would follow the method that Joshua told you guys about. Unhook this linkage, unhook the three-way, and just make sure that this kind of moved freely here. That way you can kind of take those two factors out of the equation. Get the trigger rolling by adjusting the guide screws there to where it's not too tight, it's not too loose, and then you can factor back in these equations and you should be dialed in right where you want it. All right, you guys, I hope that helps. Like I said, just take your time. Every frame's probably gonna be a little bit different. You know, remember we're retrofitting this kit into ShockTech's frame, so kind of we don't control that other side of the equation in terms of tolerances and whatnot, but if you take the time, you be patient, you'll get it dialed in just right, and the Zfr will be awesome. Thanks, guys.